Hi, this is Glen Moore, owner at Bear Fox Marketing, and today I'm with Beat of Business Growth Architect, and we're talking about many of the mistakes that small and mid-sized businesses make when it comes to their marketing. So often we have situations where owners are spending money and they don't know exactly where that money's going and they're frustrated. Today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about what are some lessons that we've learned and what these small businesses are doing so that every dollar that they invest can help them to grow and scale their business. So if you're interested in learning more about that, go listen to the episode.
And hello, fabulous person. Beate Gillette here. I am the host of the Business Growth Architect Show, and I want to welcome you to today's episode where we discuss how to navigate strategy and spirituality to achieve time and financial freedom. Truly successful people have learned how to master both: a clear intention and a strategy to execute that in a spiritual practice that will help them to stay in alignment and on purpose. Please enjoy the show and listen to what our guest today has to say about this very topic. Welcome back, everybody. This is Beate Gillette, your host for the Business Growth Architect Show. Today, we're talking to Glen Moore from Bear Fox Marketing. And today, we're going to talk about a subject that you love to hate and you hate to love, which is marketing. What works in marketing? What channels work in marketing? What do you need to know about marketing? And what is definitely not something you should be wasting your time on? And Glen, I'm excited that you're here on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
So for somebody who doesn't know who you are, will you just give them a short introduction of who you are and what problem you solve for your clients?
Sure. So I guess first, personally, I'm a dad of three tweens. I've got two in college right now. I've got one that's a teenager going into high school. And then professionally, I've been doing marketing now for about 25 years. I kind of went the corporate route for about 18 years. And then for the last 7, I've had an agency that we kind of focus on helping to scale up small companies, small to mid-sized companies. And so that's kind of me in a nutshell. I've got a cabin up on the lake. I love to ski and play pickleball and do things like that. But I love helping small and mid-sized companies grow. I think that's kind of what gets me up in the morning and what motivates me in my job.
I love that a lot. Be outside, get it done. So when we talk about marketing, let's just sort of dive right into this nitty-gritty here. Why is marketing so difficult to crack for most everybody?
Yeah, great question. Well, I think there's so many voices out there. There's so many opinions on what works, what doesn't work. So if you're on social media, you get absolutely bombarded with all kinds of messages saying, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And it's very difficult. I think a lot of, especially small to mid-sized companies that I talk to, they're burned out. They've heard so many different promises. They hear, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And then they try it and they waste all kinds of money. And they're like, why didn't that work? And so hopefully today I can kind of help shed some light on what's working for other small and mid-sized business owners. And I think there's good solutions out there. You just kind of have to be smart. You have to, what do they say, buyer beware. You have to make sure that you're smart thinking about it. And you say, is this really right for my business?
How do I know what's right for my business? I think you hit on something that's so important where you said there's so much information out there. Because if I go to some of the people that are the most notable people in the marketing world, I see them flooding the market with just all kinds of content. Does that work for a regular, normal small business?
Yeah. Well, you're seeing a lot of that lately. It does work, but what's going on right now is the universe is getting flooded with content. A lot of that is due to AI with the emergence of ChatGPT. And now people can come out and I can create thousands of words of content in under 3 minutes very quickly and just flood my website with content. Or it's very easy if I have a video camera and I can sit down and I can come up with content and I can put up on my website. And that's a good thing. I don't want to say that that's not a good thing, but it also makes the ease at which it is to put content out there, it's easier than it has ever been. And so what's going on right now is there's things that we have to do in response to that. There's things that Google and other platforms are already doing about that to try to figure out, okay, is this really trusted content? And so that, to me, that's the big theme there is content is important, but trust and authority are more important than ever. That this is a real person. This is somebody that's got good expertise, that's speaking on your behalf, that's very authoritative when it comes to this particular niche. And having a niche is more important than ever. I would say over the last 6 months, it's gotten incredibly important. So be careful if you're a small business owner that if you look at who you're trying to appeal to, is your appeal pretty wide in terms of the services and what you do? Or is it really, really narrow and focused? If it's narrow and focused, you're going to have a much greater probability of having success in your marketing tactics that you employ.
Yeah, you said something sort of really important that made me come up with the question, what's the purpose of marketing anyway? Is it to build authority? Is it to get clients? What is the purpose of marketing?
To me, marketing is not about trying to manipulate somebody to do something that they shouldn't do or that you want them to do, or to manipulate them in some way, right? It's to understand what their particular needs and wants and pain points are, and then make sure that your product, if you have a product, you can appeal and satisfy those particular needs and wants in a way that's more compelling and unique than somebody else. And so the best marketers, they really understand the pain points and the problems that their customers have. And then, like, I'll give you an example. I used to work for a company, and it was a company, we were looking at fish oil products, and fish oil has all these heart health benefits and things like that for a number of different things. Well, but you could go to Costco, you go to Sam's Club, and you could get 300 pills of fish oil for like $6, $7. Everybody was just competing on price. And then what we did is we met with some consumers, and we want to understand what their pain points were. And so they said, "Oh, I love fish oil, but I hate taking the big, huge pills. And by 10 in the morning, I'm like burping up all this gross fish oil."
Yeah. Nothing like that at 7 in the morning.
Exactly. And so we're getting somewhere. We're getting into these pain points. And then we went back to our team and say, what's out there that can satisfy these particular pain points or problems? We found a product. It was small, easy to swallow. It didn't smell. It did all this great stuff. And so that's what we built our marketing on. So to me, that's smart marketing. That, by the way, that product was incredibly successful because the best products really understand the consumer or the customer and what they're looking for, and then deliver that in a really powerful way. So
Yes, I like this a lot. The different ideas about marketing, right? You said that marketing is designed for me to figure out what my customer is looking for, and then having my product being designed to solve that particular problem. Well, that's the essence of every business.
mhm, it
That
is.
is the purpose statement. That's the vision, the mission. That's everything in a nutshell. Why do people miss this part so much? Is it that somebody once described it to me as a phantom avatar, where they invented somebody that has the problem that they think that they're having, but that person doesn't really exist? So they try desperately to sell to a phantom avatar. I thought that was a great way to put it. But where do businesses get this wrong? Is it the ego of the owner? Is it that it's always been done that way? Take me
Really,
through.
that to me, that's where it comes down. But based on my experience of doing this for as long as I have, and I've talked with thousands and thousands of different small business owners. I think the number one obstacle for them is their own ego getting in the way and thinking that I understand. I know this industry. I've been doing this for 20 years. I understand my customer better than anybody, even better than they do. And I think that's a really dangerous place to be, because you're not opening your ears. You're not listening to a problem, and you can't really innovate if you're not open minded to what the customer might be struggling with right now. The most humble, successful leaders are those that can kind of listen and say. I mean, the most important question, like if you have zero market research budget, the number one question you can ask when you're talking to your customers is, why did you choose us, right? And then let them share, and then all of a sudden you understand who your love group is. Why are these people choosing my company? What is it about us that makes us so special? Well, there you go. Now you can start building something on that. And maybe now I know the core of people, what they love about us. Now maybe I can look at these swing people out here, these people that haven't really chosen us yet. How can I bring I'm going to bring these swing people in through the eyes of the people that love me. So why did they choose? What were some of the pain points they had? And what can we do to bring these swing group into the love group?
Powerful stuff on the marketing. So let's talk about what works and what doesn't work right now. What I liked about what you just said is, and I want to make sure we point this out for the beehive, is even though you think you got something figured out today, that doesn't mean that it's working tomorrow because of algorithm changes, consumer behavior change. Just think about what happened throughout the pandemic on how suddenly everybody that was in business clothing was out of business because nobody bought any more suits or ties. And then people thought that the leisure wear would be around forever and ever, but people then did go back and try to find business clothes and couldn't find any because then people had stopped manufacturing them. And then there is a whole other subset of whatever yoga pants that are it's either that or a suit. There seems to be no leisure wear in between. So behavior changes as the external circumstances change. So now looking at this, is there something where you say specifically don't do that anymore because it's not working? In my personal opinion, I'm just going to lead with this, right? So everybody knows my displeasure with Facebook because it deplatformed me and I lost everything. And then I'm like, well, I guess it's a sign I have to do without. I find that Facebook before that even was a bottomless pit of just money going down the drain with very little and almost no measurable results.
Yeah,
So tell
yeah,
me
for
what
sure.
works, what doesn't.
No, and you're not alone. I think 18, 24 months ago, Facebook made some incredibly huge changes with their algorithm and also with their ability to retarget folks inside of their platform, Meta platform. And so it's significantly different. I can't tell you how many companies I've talked to that have had exactly the same kind of response that you just said is Facebook is horrible, it's dead. I think the game has kind of changed. And I know this podcast isn't about Facebook. We could talk all for an hour about that, but there are some what I would suggest is I've got my own personal bias and my opinion. What I would like to do, and I would encourage your viewers to do the same thing, is go to Google and look up what marketing channels have the highest ROI or return on investment. And you're going to see consistently which ones kind of show up at the top. The most recent one that I saw, it was a survey of 300 different chief marketing officers. And it asked them that question. It said, which channel has the highest return on investment based on your experience? And I would say that three of them kind of are kind of consistently up at the top. You've got email marketing. Email marketing is really a good one. Content marketing. We talked about that one, but content is tricky because it has to be combined with something else because there's so much content. It's just not enough to come up with great content, put it on your website, and then hope everybody comes to your website. It's not that easy. And then the last one is SEO, which is we have a lot of experience with that here at our company. I'll kind of disclose that up front, but those three are the ones that typically have the best return on investment, meaning that if I'm spending $1 on marketing, where am I going to get the most in terms of sales coming into my company? So when I talk to my friends that are small business owners, I just worked with one recently, and he just started a new company, him and his wife, and they're starting this new company. And let's start right now because every dollar is so important. Let's make sure we're putting those dollars in the right place so that you can, because at the end of the day, he wants to get new customers and scale his business up. And so that he can have the freedom to do, they homeschool their kids and they want to be able to do all these things with their kids and with their life. And so their business, every dollar that they spend in the marketing really means that much, right? So that's kind of how you have to look at it.
Yeah, thank you for that. I believe that we have to try different things. I mean, SEO is relatively inexpensive. You can hire somebody. There's a lot of SEO people out there. There's a lot of bad SEO people out there. There's a lot of AI automated tools that you can bring into your website to optimize at least your main pages. You got to get your Google Analytics so you know where you're getting the traffic to, what Google is already naturally sending you, and then make sure that on those pages you have the opt-in or the engagement piece that you want people to opt in. And I want to just like lay this out because we have like a blog post. It's I think the 10 characteristics of entrepreneurs, and consistently it's a page that we get a lot of traffic to. And then it finally dawned on me, and I don't know why it took me so long, Glenn, to say, well, if that many people get to that page, maybe we need to have the quiz link on that page
Mhm.
so that
Oh,
we
I
can
love
have
that idea. Great idea.
the lead generation on there. Is there anything else you can share with the audience, something that you've maybe seen that would be a tangible takeaway we can give them? And it's like completely off the cuff here, but I thought maybe we can throw
Yeah, no,
out
I
an
love
idea or two.
your idea because there's a word for that, right? We call it gamification. It's trying. how can we make that so we're not so lukewarm and boring when it comes to our calls to action? Because so many times on our website, the call to action is something like click here
Join the
for,
newsletter.
yeah, join the newsletter or call
No,
for a
no.
free consultation, right? That's the one I see a lot is the consultation. And it's like, okay, I get it. Everybody does a free consultation. So we have to get a little bit creative with some of the calls to action that we have. I would say the maybe two suggestions that I would have for people when it comes to SEO is, one is SEO isn't for everybody. And that's the first thing you got to say is, one exercise that we do for clients, and I really like it, is it assesses how difficult is this going to be? Like, we can look and see, okay, what type of client do you want to pull in? What are some keywords that they're typing into Google that would match up exactly with what your business is? And then we can go look at those keywords and say, Google, there's actually a difficulty score on those keywords. So you can say, okay, is this 100 out of 100 difficulty? Is it 5 or 6? And so we can look at that and say, this is a really good opportunity, or don't even go there. These keywords, you'll never own them. You're going to be spending all this time and money and you're never going to get there. So I think that would be the first thing I would tell people to SEOs. Make sure you understand before you start spending money and jumping into the deep end of the pool. Make sure you understand, what do I want to go after? What keywords do I really want to get top Google ranking for? And then how hard is it going to be for those, to get ownership and top billing for those keywords, and who's in that space, right? That's really, really important to know. The other thing that I would say is there's a lot of free things that you can do with SEO that you don't even have to have an agency for. And I would say take advantage of those as much as you can. Like Google Business Profile, for example. It blows me away how very few small businesses, maybe they've got a phone number on there and they got their address, and that's it. That's all they've got with Google My Business Profile. And it doesn't take you but an hour to get in there and fill that out. And then let's say you come up with a blog or something you're putting up on your website, put it up on that Google Business Profile page. And that's going to help you outrank about 90% of everybody else in your industry, because nobody else does it. And it's so easy and it's free to do. It'll get you shown on that Google Maps pack. And you can also get optimized for Google search. So if somebody's using Siri or Alexa or something like that, they'll be able to find your business when they do that voice search. So those are two things that I would suggest to people is, one, make sure it's a good opportunity for you. And two, utilize those free elements that are there, and just make sure you maximize them to the fullest capacity.
I love that. Yes. And I like that you said on your Google My Business, on your business profile, it's not a one and done. You need to continue to put content on it, because Google is driven by content and searches are driven by new content. So make sure you do that. So thank you for that. So, Glenn, thank you so much for all this advice on marketing. And now I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about sort of the spiritual part of things. You and I, when we were in the green room, you had shared with me that mindset is a really critical piece in your organization, your company. Tell us a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, really good question. And I made a lot of mistakes in this as an owner of a business, and I've had this business now for 7 years. When we first started out, we would hire people based on their skill set, right? That we want to make sure you have this set of skills, and that's important. But the culture and the mindset is more important than anything. So you want to make sure that we're identifying what are those key 3 to 4 values that every single employee must have here within the organization. And then making sure that when we're hiring people and we're training people, we're reinforcing those values regularly. And so one of the values that we have here is to be humbly confident, right? Well, there's 2 parts to that. That means humble. That means we have to be open to learn new things. And so one thing that we do is we make sure that every month or 2 we have a book that we read together as a company. And so many times that's a mindset book, right? It might be Mindset by Carol Dweck, or it might be Extreme Ownership, or it might be Atomic Habits, And so I think that's so important. Sometimes we don't talk about that enough, about just how important culture is and about how important the values of our organization. I've worked with organizations where all they are is about, hey, we just want to make money, money, money. Let's hire the people who have the skills to do what they need to do. And all that other soft stuff, let's leave it out. You're making a big mistake if you're doing that, in my opinion. I made that mistake myself. And now I've done it both ways. I would never go back to doing that.
Hmm. And this is really what initiated the shift to add spirituality to our strategy in the business growth architect environment. But I looked at this and I recognized that everybody I know who is successful has a practice of some sort. And they are either reading books, and I love that you read books with others in your organization, in your company, to get them sort of in the same kind of mindset. And it is not a one and done thing. It is a perpetual ministry of clean thinking, because it's so easy to have this our brain volunteer all these thoughts that are really not conducive to our growth. So outside of you doing this for your company, what do you do? Like, because if you lead, right? If you lead people in that, then it's almost like you have to be better at this than everybody
Yeah.
else.
Well, I'd
So
love to hear what you do too, because I think everybody kind of has a different routine. Like for me, I sometimes I get over a little bit. If I'm honest, I get a little overwhelmed with all of the polarity and all the negativity that goes on right now in our world which we live in. Like I'll go to social media and I just got to turn it off because there's just so many loud voices from all over the place. And so, you talked about it, whether it's books or finding a couple podcasts that I like where I can get up when I go walk my dog for 30 minutes in the morning every day. The first thing I do is I put in my little ear pods and I find my podcast, or I find some kind of element that's going to start my day out on the right foot, right? And I can listen and try to fill my mind with some positivity, because God, it's so easy to get pulled into this vortex at work where there's problem after problem after problem, right? And it's if you don't have that framework, or you don't have that way of approaching your day in a more positive way, you're just going to get overwhelmed with everything else. So I've found that for me, that's so important. And then the thing that I got to do a little bit better, I'm starting to do this, but I'm not super good at it yet, is kind of at the end of the day, getting like a journal and just reporting, okay, how did the day go? What are some things I learned today? What are some things I want to try to do tomorrow to kind of reset? And sometimes I just get tired and I don't want to write those things. I don't want to keep track of them. I know I need to do it, but those are some things that I found that have kind of helped me.
yeah, I think this is powerful. What I use Calm, and there's one particular meditation guy who's his name is Jeff, and he's a little bit off the cuff, and he is got sort of this unique way of looking at it. And he just goes, well, the brain does what the brain does, right? So just let it go, just bring it back. Don't make a big deal out of it. Don't call it a failure. Just like, oh, observe it, let it go, and then say, okay, let's come over back here. And as you do that, you create these spaces in between these enormous amounts of thoughts that you have, that then allows other ideas to come in, versus occupying every thought moment with this useless stuff that your brain just wants to volunteer because it just can't shut up, basically. And I like that idea. And it's relatively easy because 10 minutes, I'm not really a great morning person. So it's okay for me to put my headphones on, and then as I'm drinking the coffee, waiting for the caffeine to kick in, to take these 10 minutes and do that. So that works really for me. The other thing that really works for me is I like Abraham Hicks, which is channeled by a woman by name of Esther. And there's so much stuff on YouTube out there, and it's like 15-minute segments or shorts. And the premise of this is to understand that we are in a vibration, and the vibration of feeling good is what creates more good, which is the equivalent of gratitude, right? So people that are very grateful constantly reminding themselves on how good it is, and they're inviting more good. If you are vibrating on the negative part, which is what we're seeing in politics, which is what we're seeing with people around climate change. I mean, it's just so much stupidity that it's almost painful to watch. And because they are focusing on these negative things, they just create more and more and more of it, because that's the vibration that they're on. And I think in the mindset part, and that's why I like what you said, that you do this with your company, is that you take this original vibration and then you almost like make it larger, and you say, how can we vibrate more on that level of positivity, of interaction, of being humble, of being thoughtful. And then that is what creates eventually that momentum where these quantum leaps are coming in. That's proven in nature, because we know if it exists in nature, if a quantum leap exists in nature, a quantum leap therefore must be possible for you too. So what happens to these atoms that are having this quantum leap, what do you need to do to have that quantum leap, right? And it's the same, you create an environment where it can happen. So we need to create the environment that it can happen. That's why I'm always so curious to see, what the mindset part is. The other thing that I heard, Glenn, was the walking with the dog. That might be your meditation. It doesn't have to be a meditation,
Hmm.
but that repetitive action,
Yeah,
the
it's interesting. Yeah,
the mountain biking, the
yeah.
skiing, that might be the meditation.
Well, it's funny. I'm sure I'm not the only listener that feels this way too. But sometimes I think better when I'm on the move, like when I'm up walking, or like let's say I'm just sitting in my office and I'm coming to, just getting dead ended with the thoughts that I have. Sometimes just getting up and moving and going for a walk or going, all of a sudden some inspiration starts coming, some thoughts start to come, right? It's really interesting. And one more comment, I really liked what you said earlier. But like one thing that I find is I've got a really active mind and it's just always going. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are that way. We got a million ideas going on. And
You
my
have
wife,
an 80% chance of being ADD if you are listening to this show.
oh, it's crazy. And I'll be like walking around the house and my wife will just look at me and she's like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking about? I'm like, no, nothing. I'm not feeling it. I'm not thinking anything. She's like, no, I can tell. I can see it all over your face. I can see you're thinking. And so when you have a super active brain, sometimes you've got to figure out how to shut that down. And whether that's meditation or, one thing I found about writing it down is if I don't write it down, then my dreams are going to be consumed with this stuff. And at night, I wake up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because I've been thinking about something at work or something I need to do here with this employee or whatever. And so I found if I write it down before I go to bed, all right, good, there it is. I'm going to pick it up in the morning, leave it there, compartmentalize it, leave it there, and then try to shut things down. And then I can pick that up in the morning or the next day and take care of it. But I don't have to sit there and have anxiety over it all night long.
That is such a smart way to look at it, because if it's percolating in your head and it's not written down, it's still in your head. But if it's outside of your head, which is why we love project management so much and project management software, is because the minute this comes up, I can put it somewhere. It doesn't mean that every project has to be open, but it just means that this project is sitting there until the time when it's right to do this project, but it's out of my head.
I love it. Yeah. Project management software is like a godsend. Like it's wonderful. Just
What are you
how
what
good
are
that.
you using while we're at it?
Well, we use Asana.
Oh my
Asana's the
God,
one.
Asana, you're an Asana man. Hail
I
to the
guess I
Asana
assume you
gods.
use
Yes.
Asana as well. Yeah.
It's such a game changer. Yeah. I mean, if you're listening to the show and you have never heard about Asana, you definitely check it out. There's other things, Basecamp, Trello, people love Monday. It's all based on the same kind of underlying data management. But yeah, we love Asana. We couldn't operate without this. All right, we are at the end of the show, Glenn. I know it always goes so fast. So for somebody who now wants to know how they can work with you or learn more about you, tell us where and how can they find you?
Sure. So probably the easiest way to go is just go to Bear Fox Marketing, like the two animals, Bear Fox Marketing, and check us out.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, good to be here.
All right, and that's it for us for today. So remember, in marketing, you need to try different things. Start with the free stuff first. Get your head around SEO. Make sure you got your Google profile set up. And then if you want to spend money, do so carefully and slowly and deliberately. And that's it for us for today. Thank you so much for listening to or watching this show. Until next time, and goodbye. So appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for listening to the entire episode. Please subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star review, a comment, and share this episode with one more person so that you can help us help more people. Thank you again. Until next time. Goodbye.